All right, everybody, welcome into a special midweek edition of the Leading into Leadership podcast. This is episode 198. As always, I am your host, Darren Peppard, and today I've got a special treat for you. I have an encore presentation of one of our most popular episodes featuring my friend and my co-author, Katie Kinder. Now, Katie is an extraordinary educator, a celebrated speaker, and she's the author of Untold Teaching Truths, Hallway Leadership, and our brand new release, Culture First Classrooms. Now, Katie's passion for education and genuine belief that learning should always be fun has inspired countless of educators across the nation. And in this episode, Katie really dives into some practical, actionable strategies to captivate your students from day one, to infuse joy into your classroom, and to reignite your own passion for teaching. So whether you've heard this conversation before or you're hearing it for the very first time, there is no doubt that you're going to walk away energized and equipped with some new ideas to make learning unforgettable. So let's dive in with my friend, my co-author, Katie Kinder, to rediscover why teaching at its best is pure magic. You know, every now and again, we meet somebody that when we very first meet them, like immediately you just know, wow, this is somebody who I am totally going to have a good time with. I'm going to really enjoy, having a friendship and a connection with this person. And oh my gosh, I have to work hard to keep up with this person's energy. And that was pretty much my thinking when I first met my guest on the show today, Katie Kinder. Man, we got to tell that story. But before we do, just really quick, Katie, welcome into Leaning into Leadership.
Hi, I'm so happy to be here. Darren Peppard. I like to say your whole name. I know people call you like Pep and they call you like Coach Peppard and maybe Mr. Peppard. But I like the whole name. Darren Peppard. I like it.
Well, that's very kind of you, Katie Kinder. I really appreciate that. And folks, you're just listening to the audio, but if you know Katie Kinder, if you follow Katie Kinder, you are probably well aware that she is sporting her teal glasses. She is rocking the Katie Kinder look.
I am
we'll probably talk about that
to you at some point. Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think we'll be together in North Carolina in March.
Yeah. Ooh.
Are we together in March twice? I think we're together in New York also in March. So yeah, you got to hook me up with some teal glasses. That's going to be great. Yeah.
I want to
100%.
customize them just for you. I want them to say Pep.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like it.
Right on.
We're going to do it.
I love it. Bedazzled. All right. So, we are already going off the rails here on this episode, and I love it. I think that's going to be awesome. As I said, folks. Yeah. So like I said, folks, when I first met Katie Kinder, we actually met in person for the first time this past summer in Las Vegas at a conference, and man, we found out we have a lot in common. We have a lot of the same passions, a lot of the same love for our educators. And that's what we're really going to talk about today. But just really quick, Katie, for any of my listeners who don't happen to know who the teal glassed young lady is on the screen with me right now, tell them a little bit about who you are, what you do, that kind of stuff.
I mean, the fact that you just called me young, I think we're best friends because I'm 42, but thank you. Maybe I have youthful energy. Hi, everyone. I'm Katie Kinder.
Whatever it takes.
Yeah. To get those bedazzled glasses. Yes, I have been an educator since 2006, and I love it. I love to create experiences for my students. And then I became an instructional coach, and I got a model classroom where I could spend the day with my baby teachers. And I did. I asked the superintendent, I'm like, give me the toughest kids so these teachers know that I can teach. And they took me super seriously. So if you got into a fight in gym, you were in Miss Kinder's class. And so then my baby teachers could come in and watch me teach, and then I could go with them and teach their classes. And I really loved the model. Like, I think that's what instructional coaching should be. And, it's hard to take advice from somebody who isn't also in the arena getting their booties kicked. So I'm here with you. And so then I've been speaking and loving the baby teachers all over the nation and going to places like Las Vegas and meeting Darren Peppard. And yeah, it's fun.
Absolutely. So I want to chase something that you said. I
Okay.
told you that's what I was going to do, and so here
I
we
love
go.
it.
I've heard you on a few different podcasts, and one that I listened to fairly recent. You said something almost exactly like what you said just a little bit ago about, like, if you got in a fight in gym class, you're in Miss Kinder's class. So that's what I want to chase. I want to talk about that a little bit more because, folks, look, here's the bottom line. This is why Katie and I are having the conversation today. We are all about helping our teachers. We're all about helping our leaders. We're all about ensuring that they can do everything they can so that our students can be successful. So here you go. Let's pick up a tip. This is all those baby teachers who would come and watch you teach those kids who got in fight in gym. What were you doing? What were you doing to have success with those students? And what can teachers who are struggling with kids just like that right now, what can they do?
Sure. Well, and first, let me just say, I think that we always need to be a study of the game. The kids are evolving. We have to evolve with them. Like, no longer should we have classrooms that look like they did 100 years ago. Like, we have to, I mean, even pre-pandemic, our kids have changed a lot. And so I will say that as well. Like, I will always be a study of teaching and learning and kids' brains. And because, something that worked with one kid might not work with another kid. We know that, right? But I mean, I was in there. I'm procedurally, like, this is how we sharpen a pencil, and this is how we ask a question. And here are our group procedures, and here are the things that you need to know. And and then experience lessons. Do you hear my dog? Do you hear my dog
Oh
barking?
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's
I'm really
perfect.
sorry, everyone. It's great. So experience lessons, like, what kind of experiences are we creating for our kids that are going to last a lifetime? And I really believe that, like, engaging in relevant lessons, like, our kids have got to buy in. And if they don't see what is in front of them as something that pertains to their life, they're not going to do it. They don't want to do it. And some people can be like, well, I teach the standard and they blah, blah, blah. Like, well, it's going to be rough. And I believe in keeping up with the kids and making sure that you are providing lessons in which they will engage. The best thing I hear at the end of class is like, oh my, it's time to go already. Like, oh my goodness. And I love that.
But I think a big thing that you just said, I don't want to gloss over it at all. In order to get to all of that stuff, it's about procedures. And you talked about, like, procedurally, hey, this is how we sharpen a pencil. But so often when new teachers come into the classroom, they are caught up in, I've got to teach this standard, or I've got to make sure my kids get to X because the other three teachers that teach freshman biology are so far ahead of me or whatever. But typically those teachers who maybe are, quote, farther ahead of you, one, they've done it a whole lot more. But two, they have really good procedures already in place in the classroom. So, like, to me, classroom management is just such a huge piece. I want to say that it's overlooked. It's probably not fair to say that it's overlooked, but maybe sometimes that's something that we just assume, oh, they'll pick it up as they go, or we can coach with little tips here and there. I want you to go a little further with the procedural stuff because I just think that is so essential.
Sure. I mean, on day one, I am going to address something that I see in class that is not allowed. I'm going to address it. I'm going to be very direct with my kids. Like, hey, we are not, and I do it with a smile on my face, very love and logic. But hey, we don't talk across the room in my class. But if you have a question, I'm happy to help you. And I just, like, smile at them. And so from day one, like, hey, we might be working in groups on Friday, but right now we're doing individual work. And there's, like, I train them with instrumental music. Like, hey, if the instrumental music is on, it's individual. So let me know if you have questions. Like, I mean, I just am very direct with them. And I have a whole classroom management workshop that I put on for new teachers and for teachers who just need a refresher. And I have a list of things. I mean, this is what I do first when a kid does this. This is what I do second. This is what I do third. And a lot of times they don't know. Like, and our new teachers, our baby teachers, they're not confident enough, a lot of them, to walk in and be like, I'm drowning, I need help. I mean, some of them are, but a lot of them, in my experience, are scared to do that. And one of the things I love about the mentorship piece is that I'm not evaluating them. I'm not writing on their evaluation. I'm not, like, they can come to my safe space and I will love them. I've got teachers all over the nation who come into Instagram DMs and are like, this happened today, what would you do? And I'm like, this is what I would do. So I do think, and sometimes like after a long break or after, something scary has happened, like we revisit those procedures. This is how we behave, and our classrooms need to be brain-based. Like, are we keeping up with brain research and how these prefrontal cortex, like how are they developing? They aren't developed. I think they say men now are in their 30s. Like, what? So our kids, they just need, and our kids don't want a classroom that's out of control. They might think they do. They might think that's scary though. They want to know they're not in charge. And there's so many of our kids that go home and they're in charge. And it's almost nice for them to come into a classroom that is structured. We're going to have some fun, but I'm not your friend. I love you. I love you too much for you to do that, but I'm in charge. And so it's almost like takes a weight off their shoulders a little bit.
No, I love that. And I just think that's so important. We're at a point in time right now where we lose a really high percentage of new teachers in their first 3 years. At the other end of the spectrum, we're losing a lot of leaders, probably earlier than normal. People that are, tapping out at 52, 53, 54 instead of 62, 63, or 64. Just for whatever reason. Maybe it's, they're transitioning into something else, like what I've done, or it's, they're just done. They're just worn out. They're exhausted. And certainly it's a big challenge that we face on both ends of the spectrum. And your focus, your work is really all about helping those who are just coming into the profession. So let's talk a little bit more about that. I know that, you're out on the road, you're speaking at conferences, you're speaking in schools, you're providing professional development. What do you see right now? What are some trends that school leaders, district leaders need to be aware of with just, I guess, challenges or concerns or struggles that those baby teachers are having?
Sure. I mean, again, I think that a lot of them, they close their door and they want to pretend they're on an island, and they're not. And I think that our admin they need to check in with them more. And I'm thinking teachers in their first 5 years need a mentor teacher in their first 5 years. I feel like after 5 years, you're kind of like, okay, I've done it. I kind of get it. And like, we can't just assume they're doing okay just because they're not talking to us. So being in classrooms, being a hallway leader, being the thermostat of the school, like knowing what's happening with our teachers is huge. I mean, like, I also like to talk to vet teachers who kind of lost their spark. Like, I know they didn't get into it to sit on their desk and bark at kids. Like, I know that. So what happened and what can we do for them to get that spark back and become innovative again and want to not just hold their breath until retirement, like, I want to know, and let's provide this for teachers.
I think that's huge. I really do. I'm thinking back to, again, to when you and I met in person. I had a chance to hear you speak in Las Vegas. And I love this. So folks, if you don't know Katie, how do I say this the right way? Katie's not tall of stature, but what Katie does is actually something I do, but for a different reason. Katie has a tendency to jump up on the chair. And in the middle of what she's saying. They got to be sturdy
chairs, but I will do it.
That's right. But she's getting up on the chairs. So let's create a new segment of the show here called Get Up on the Chair. So give me a few things that will make you get up on the chair. And, like for me, I'll be honest with you, the thing I get on the chair, you've seen me do this. I get on the chair when I tell people you cannot be burned out if you've never been on fire. You have got to get back in touch with what you're on fire. So,
Ooh.
damn, I just
Ooh.
got fired up doing that,
Ooh.
didn't I? Yeah, that's a get on the chair moment. So give us a couple. Katie Kinder gets on the chair.
Yeah, I mean, I was up on those chairs in Vegas. Yes. I get excited about talking about the experience lessons, relevant lessons, engaging lesson plans. Like, how are we connected? We have to care more about who we are teaching than what we're teaching. Like, sometimes a teacher needs to hear, how about you close your door and do what's best for the kid sitting in front of you? Stop listening to the noise. Stop freaking out about things that you cannot control. And that's me too. That's a reminder for me too. Like, what's in my sphere of influence? And if it's not something I can influence, then I cannot have a panic attack over it. And so what can I control? And that is my classroom. That is making my classroom the safest place where kids can take big risks and they remember lessons that we did in 8th grade for years to come. I will have adult students that have graduated and they're in their own jobs, and they will be like, remember Edgar Allan Poe in October and what you did? And I'm like, yes, that was so fun. And I feel like when we're laughing, we're learning. When we are hands-on, immersed in the learning, those are things that we remember. And I think it's really important. That's what gets me up on a chair 100%.
That's outstanding. I love that so much. I think it's important that we don't lose track and don't lose sight of those things that we're just genuinely passionate about, right? Yeah. Because there are so many things. I mean, Katie, you're so right. There's so many things that are outside of our ability to impact them. Those things that we just flat don't have any control over. And I know this. I talk about it everywhere I go. You talk about it where you go. That if we just focus on the things we can control and let go of the things that we can't, that's going to make us a whole lot better in the classroom. It just allows us to be a little bit better for our kids. But how do you do it? It's easier said than done, right? So what's maybe a couple pieces of advice that you would share for whether it's a baby teacher or that veteran teacher who's just they're that one who is a little bit burned out, and we need to get them back in touch with what set them on fire. What's some advice for getting back to focusing on what like you can control?
Yeah, I mean, I think number one, we got to provide the training and the PD that the teachers need right now. Like, they need to be able to go to a conference and get fired back up. They need to be able, at their convocation or their one PD day that they get, shouldn't necessarily be bloodborne pathogens, like maybe we can bring in some things that are applicable and relevant and fun. And then two, I think you got to go in other people's classes. And I know that's a vulnerable place to be like, hey, come and watch me teach this really cool lesson. It may or may not go well. But I think the best principles foster that kind of relationship and environment where teachers feel empowered to go watch each other teach. So like as an instructional coach, I learned so much. And I loved going in and watching, a really cool math lesson where I was English or going and seeing history or I went outside with the 8th grade math class one day and they made bottle rockets and they were like, it's just fun. And I feel like we should feel more empowered to do that. And your best PD is the teacher down the hall, right? And so I know teachers are like, what on the time? But carve out 5 minutes, 10 minutes. I know that we have a 20-minute lunch and we've got a sandwich stuck in our throat while we're talking to a parent, while we're making copies, while we're on the toilet. Like, I mean, all the things. And it's hard, but I think that development piece has to always be front of mind. Always.
So one, that's the ultimate multi-purpose staff room that obviously you had. But two, I wanna take not directly from that, but from something else that you were talking about, and maybe go a little bit deeper. You've thrown me completely with the sandwich in your throat on the toilet talking to parents making
Talking to
coffee
a parent
piece,
making coffee.
but yeah, I mean, you really did. I was able to recapture all of that,
You
but
visualize
no,
this.
I think, yeah, well, yeah, no kidding, I did, and yeah,
These poor
like,
teachers.
yeah, well, that's one way, I guess, to keep parents from calling, right? But
Oh my God.
now I don't even remember what I wanted to ask you.
I'm
I'm sure it
sorry.
was
I'm sorry.
extremely deep and important, and
The
probably was the
sandwich.
key to this podcast episode, but we've derailed the whole thing. But that's okay. As I said at the top, when you meet just that one person that you just know your energies are going to match, that's what happens. So
So fun.
let's do this. Eventually, the idea will come back to me. And oh yeah, I do. There it is. See, I found it. I actually have had this conversation with several schools that I'm working with right now that are at the point, or at least the administrators are hoping they're at the point where they can start opening up, and the teachers will open up the doors to their peers coming into their classrooms, whether that's a really well structured administrators are like, okay, here's how we're going to do this, to just hey, we're going to give you the latitude. I'll come cover your class so you can go watch somebody. And my question for you, Katie, isn't necessarily around like the logistics of it, but rather from both being the instructional coach, being a classroom teacher. You said something that made me think of when I was a rookie administrator, watching other people teach. I'm like, oh my God, I would be so much better as a teacher now because I see all this. So what would you, either as the instructional coach or in your role now, what would you be coaching teachers to look for, and how should they give feedback to their peers so that it's not like evaluative or funky or weird? What do you got for us on the whole peer observation thing?
Sure. I like better just glows. Like, this is what glows and grows, not grows, just glows. This is what I love about your classroom. I love that this happened, and I love that this happened. That's it. So people don't have to feel like, oh my gosh, I'm being judged. They're going to feel like that anyway sometimes, especially if you're new and it's a new subject and you're teaching a new school and all of that. And I think it's just like, here's this note, and I think you're amazing. And I think that you should go in and see, how is the room set up? What does the objective look like? How many of the kids are engaged? How many of them have their phone under their desk and are playing on TikTok? I mean, like, and just like be observant, because sometimes if you're the teacher in a room of 30 plus kids, it is hard. It's hard to see it all. And I think that you just continue to uplift. Like, we all are creative. It's about finding what you are good at and making that applicable to kids, and making sure that your classroom is a safe place to be. And that's what I would say. Like, go down and see it. I mean, we had this big calendar in our workroom, and you could put a Post-it note on the day that you were doing something cool. You could come in, you could not come in. And I had a lesson that just completely bombed one day. And I had 2 teachers in there watching it happen. And I'm like, welcome to life. I mean, this is messy. This is human, messy work. Like, you can have a kid blow up your class, has nothing to do with you. And I'm like, okay, let's learn from it. Let's sit down and see, like, how could I have done that differently? How could I have, handled that? I had a kid who came from extreme trauma, and the lesson that we were doing kind of broke his heart. It was a poetry lesson, and it just brought up a lot of stuff for him. And he went out of my class and slammed the door so hard, screaming the F word. And my entire class is looking at me like, and I'm like, hey, you guys, sometimes that comes from like a lot of pain. Like, let's just keep going. I had to get on the phone, like, hey, I've lost a kid. Like, I need your help. And, and and they helped me. And that's the thing too, like, let's be on the same team. Like, we need Coach Pepperd, we need Miss Kinder, we need the teacher down the hall, the one upstairs. Like, we need every single one of us. And if you're not connecting with the kid the way that I am, or vice versa, like, we've got to use each other. That's what I would say to teachers. Let's go.
I think that's outstanding. I really, there were two great perspectives in there that, number one, just as far as the feedback, hey, I love this, I love this, I love this. But I really appreciated how you talked about, if I'm the one going in to observe, really observe, like, what does the objective look like? Are they presenting that in the same manner that you are? Because you could always learn from every situation, right? I mean, you and I in the speaker space, every time we hear somebody else speak, we learn from them. Maybe it's something great. Maybe it's something like, I wouldn't do that, but that's okay, right? I mean, it's still an opportunity to learn. I learned a different way to get on a chair, or a different reason to get on a chair when I heard you speak as an example, right? So definitely good perspective on that. So I've got to ask before we jump to my final question. We've got Hallway Leader, we've got Untold Teacher Truths. So we got books out there with Katie Kinder's name on them. Tell us a little bit about the books. I'm curious. You and I've talked about this already a little bit, but just that journey of doing the books. I know Untold Teacher Truths was first. Hallway Leadership is new, or fairly new. Again, talk a little bit about the books. Talk a little bit about the book journey.
Sure. So really, I was starting to speak, 2019, 2018, 19. I would go to conferences. They'd ask me to come. And people would get in line and they'd be like, you really should write all this down for teachers. And I'm like, you should write a book. And then I'm like, yeah, you should too. Ha ha. Like, who has time for that? And then 2020 hit and I wrote it. Like, I sat down and was like, okay. Like, some people ran marathons, Netflix marathon. Like, I wrote that book, and Untold Teaching Truths came out in 2021. And then from there, it just led me to all of these different opportunities, different paths, different places to speak and sell the book. And, I love it when an audience I've never even talked to orders it for all of their new teachers. And then they're like messaging me like, how do you do this? How do you do this? I love it. And then the Hallway Leadership, I just am surrounded by people who are amazing leaders and people like Darren Pepperd. And we put together this book that is, it's decently short, but it has all of these amazing authors in it. And it's anecdotal. Like, how do you serve the people that have been entrusted to your care? Like, that's such a big job. And how do you be a hallway leader? How are you being seen and visible? And how are you making a difference? And it's not being in your office. That's for dang sure. And so I have this collection of stories and advice for principals and admin and teacher leaders too, and how we serve the people. And that's how you lead. Yeah.
There you go. I love that. That's what it's all about. I know you and I were texting not long ago, and you said something about, we should write a book together. And
let's do it.
We'll have to write a book together. I don't know.
Yeah. No, we're going to.
So hang in there, folks. We're going to. Katie and I we'll write a book together at some point in time. I actually have some ideas. We'll talk about that after we turn off the record button, folks. Don't worry. We will have that conversation. So let's do this, Katie. We could just go and go and go. And some people probably would be like, yeah, keep going. And some people are probably like, okay, no, I've had enough of you two. So to keep them from turning it off and like actually have them finish the episode, let's do this. The last question I ask everybody here on the show. This is the Leaning Into Leadership podcast, Katie. So how are you leaning into leadership right now?
Sure. I think I just said it too. Like, we're serving, like the schools that I serve, when I go in there, like, what needs to be done today? Do we need to go and help clean up the cafeteria? Then we're going to do that. And do we need to go into a baby teacher's room? Do we need to cover that class? what do the people need? And to be able to serve the people, we have to know their stories. So everybody's story is really important. And as a leader, you need to sit with people and get their stories, because you cannot lead them if you don't know them. And so that's number one for me. Like, where are you coming from? Do you have a special needs child? Are you taking care of your ailing parents? Like, I need to know that to best lead you through some of the hard things we're going to have at school. So that is, in my opinion, the best way to lead others. Because Charles Williams, the velvet voice of education, who's a buddy of ours, he says,
right.
if serving is beneath you, then leading is beyond you. Oh, and that's just a beautiful thing.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't top that right there. Charles Williams, our guy, love that, and absolutely the velvet voice of education. I got to get him on the podcast. I have not yet had Charles on the show, so we definitely need to make that happen. And we will be with Charles in New York.
We will. I keep telling him, I'm like,
so
you could make millions of dollars just reading audiobooks, or like being ASMR. Like, you should go to sleep now, and like people would be like, I will pay you $1 million.
Folks, if you don't know what I'm talking about, seriously, go follow him. It's at _CW Consulting on Twitter, and he's everywhere else. But just click on one of his videos and listen to his voice. He is the voice, the velvet voice of education. No question about it. Education. Yes. There you go. Charles, we've given you way more airtime than you probably deserve, my friend. Actually, I'm kidding. You deserve so much airtime. We love you. Okay, so Katie, we've just told him how to get a hold of Charles for some weird reason, but how do people get in touch with you? Because they're going to want to talk to you. They're going to want to hang out with you. They're going to want to get some teal glasses from you, because I know they can do that. Yeah. So let's go.
Well, and let's just talk for just a second. I want to give you props, because I've been leaning into these teal glasses. And when I saw you in Vegas, you're like, you know how much stuff you can do with those glasses? Like, you got to find some fake glasses to hand out. And I immediately was like, bet. Like, that's okay. Right, and so I did. And so I have started, it's hilarious. Like, people want those fake glasses, and they're going to sport them, and they hashtag. And so you're a marketing genius. You might be up there with Taylor Swift.
Genius is a strong word, but yeah, I mean, but if you don't, but here's the truth, right? Like, and this is where that came from. And folks, this is true, whether you're, wanting to speak or write a book, or you're in your classroom and you love being in your classroom, you're still building your brand. Every one of us, I mean, it used to be like your digital footprint that's long since over with. You're building your brand, and, having not met you yet, but communicated with you several times through social media and that kind of stuff, to then see you in person and see the teal glasses, it's like, oh my gosh, you have to lean into that. I mean, I think I told you, get business cards in the shape of your glasses and have them be teal and all that kind of stuff, because, that's road to awesome. I mean, everything we do is road to awesome. And it came from a genuine, authentic place, just like your teal glasses do. And I think that's like the big key, right? With building your brand, with marketing, is it's got to come from a genuine place. If you try to create something because you saw somebody else do something kind of like that, then no, it's going to fall flat. Be real with it. And that your glasses, I mean, that's real.
Yeah, it's so fun. Okay, I digress. I'm sorry. You can find me at katiekinder.com. Twitter/X at KatieKinder1, Instagram at Untold Teaching Truths, and then I'm Googleable. Come Google me and come and slide into my DMs and let's talk. I love it.
And there you have it. All right. Hey, this was so much fun. Katie, thanks for joining me here on the Leaning into Leadership podcast. All right, everybody. Once again, I hope you really enjoyed that episode. Thank you for walking down memory lane with me. And for those of you who are watching the video, you probably have noticed that I am wearing my teal Katie Kinder glasses. I got to give her a shout out, and I got to rep the teal glasses. So, folks, I've got some links down in the show notes for you to go grab your copy of Culture First Classrooms, already making its way up the bestseller chart. We are super proud of this book, super excited about this book. Would love to see you put it in your hands. So make sure you go and hit those links in the show notes. We will be back this Sunday for our regular scheduled episode number 199. I will see you then. Until then, Have a road awesome week.